Oh, Rabbi!
Do I hear somebody?
Nah, Rabbi.
Okay, we're finishing the second booklet on Mashiach. So we first did chapter 11. Now we did chapter 12. And it'd be very difficult to remember what you learned without reviewing it. So this is not a test, this is a review. You go to the back of the booklet. You have questions on chapter 12. So I'd like to do it together. But first, if you can take a few minutes, I'll give you a few minutes to put down the answers yourself. And then we'll do it together as a group. So how many minutes I'm going to give you? Thank you. Right. Let's do about 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Write the answers to these questions. It's all the way at the end of the booklet. And it's a review sheet on chapter 12. And then we'll do it. Okay, so I'm assuming you all did the first halacha on page 1. And then we'll do the second halacha. So we have 4 questions here. The first question is, what is the subject in chapter 11 for the Rambam? And what is the subject in chapter 12? They're both about Mashiach, but what is the difference?
Rabbi Majeski?
Okay. Okay, so the answer to question number 1 is that chapter 11 discusses the details of the person who is Mashiach. What is the criteria? How will we know? And what will define him, describe him?
What does chapter 11 explain?
The person who's taking us out of Golus, Mashiach. The details about the person. Chapter 12 talks about the era of Mashiach. What will happen in that time? Number 2. So the era is called Yemois HaMashiach, the days of Mashiach. Number 2 is, does Yemois HaMashiach mean that the nature of the world will change? No. Now the reason why it's even a question is because in Gemara, we'll learn Gemara. After this, we're going to be learning Gemara. In Gemara, there are actually 2 opinions. One opinion is that Yemois HaMashiach means that the nature of the world will be very different than the way it is now. But the Rambam, which we just learned, who gives the halachic ruling, his opinion is that it will not change. The world will continue as it is. So therefore, we have another question, number 3. Is the pasuk v'gar zev and keves, which means the wolf will lie with the lamb. The wolf and the lamb will live peacefully together. Is this interpreted to mean literally the animal, or is it a metaphor? If it's the animal, then it's a miracle. It's a world that changed. If it's a metaphor, then it's not such a miracle.
If you see, like, let's say, if the wolf and the lamb are like in peace together, so you're saying that basically that would be a miracle for the Mashiach?
I think so, yeah. So what's the answer? Does it mean literally, or is it a metaphor? You all know the answer, come on. Right, the Rambam writes it's a metaphor. But because the Rambam says that the world won't change. So what does it mean? It's a metaphor. But number 4, can it also be interpreted literally? Is it possible that it'll happen in a literal sense? That the animals that today one is a animal that is a predator and attacks another animal, Mashiach comes, they won't do that. The answer is yes, it is possible. So what does the Rambam mean? It's not, it won't change. It means we don't need changes in the world to define the era as Yemos HaMashiach, which means it could also be a world where things haven't changed, and there'll be other things that'll characterize it, which is going to come up in halacha too. But of course, miracles could happen, and miracles probably would happen, but that's not what defines. If everything is happening natural, we can still say we've now entered the time which is called Yemos HaMashiach. What is it? That's going to be chapter 2. Yep.
What the definition of the word miracle? Like we wake up every morning, it's also a miracle. You know what I mean? And like, what's the definition of the word like miracle?
So you're right. It's a very good question, because waking up in the morning is a miracle. A baby is born is a miracle, and everything else is miracles. But I guess the general answer to that is we who believe that everything is from Hashem is because some people will say, oh, if it's nature, then it's not Hashem, it's natural. If Hashem does it, then it's a miracle. But we believe that everything's from Hashem.
Yeah,
Right. So the general answer is that there's things that Hashem does, which is a pattern that's been the same pattern for thousands of years, that we call nature. When something happens which goes out of that pattern, that's what we call a miracle. So the sun goes up and the sun goes down. The more you learn science, if a person approaches science with the belief that Hashem exists, the more they study science, the more their mind should be blown away with the brilliance of creation. But still, it's a pattern that's been following the world for thousands of years. When something happens which doesn't follow the order of nature and the natural rules of nature and science don't apply, we call it a miracle. Okay, now let's, by the way, I wrote down halacha 1, halacha 2, which means if you have a question, this is not a test, it's a review, you're allowed to turn back and look in halacha 2 for the answer to the question. I'm sorry to make you work so hard, but it's instead of giving you a test. So do halacha 2 now. Let's do another 5 minutes. Did you get it? Did anyone send it to you?
There's no halacha 2.
Venus says no one sent it to her yet.
Oh,
Okay.
Just put it in the regular group chat and then everyone can see it.
Okay,
then maybe-
put it in the group chat. Yeah. So this halacha 2, let's at least cover page 2. Another 5 minutes. Try to write the answers to page 2. And again, you could look back to the actual chapter to see the answer. It's all there, pretty clear. But by reviewing it, it'll help you remember it a little bit longer. By the way, a lot of the questions have 2 lines, so you might think, oh, must be a very long answer. 1 line, will just put it as a decoration. And in some of them, all you need is 1 line. In fact, it might be a yes and no answer. Okay, let's see, halacha 2. Halacha 2 is a continuation. We said before that this time, which is Yemos HaMashiach, the era of Mashiach, doesn't mean that we already have the Beis Hamikdash and we're out of the woods completely, but it's still called the era of Mashiach. What, if it's not miracles, then what will characterize Yemos HaMashiach?
Certain events that happen,
Building the Beis Hamikdash would make it already certain. That's already a more advanced stage.
It's like what happened now is
It becomes a union.
In some ways, it's already happening now. Yeah.
Like the labor pains and like the I've heard
The
from somewhere that
revelation
like the Holocaust is like the labor
Everything
pains.
is worse than the day before.
Wait,
Yeah.
did you? Are you basing it on the Rambam, or are you basing it on some other lectures that you heard somewhere? Remember, this is the questions here is what does the Rambam write in Halacha 2? So how about turning the page to halacha 2, and let's see what the Rambam writes. And though the answer is so clear, let's take a look at halacha 2. It starts off like this. There will be no difference between the current age and Messianic era, except Shibud Malchis Bilvad. We won't be subjugated to the other kingdoms, to the Gentile kingdoms. So basically, not being ruled by other nations, that alone is going to be the sort of defining factor that we're in the era of Mashiach.
Does that have to be in Israel or could that be like anywhere?
I think it means anywhere, not only in Israel. So when we ask a question, the answer is in Rambam. I'm not asking just general questions. They're all questions, but the answers are in the Rambam. Let's do the next question. Also, halacha 2. What will be the war? And all you need here is the name. What's the war that's going to be at the onset of Yemos HaMashiach? Gog and Magog, right. What will be the function of the Navi Hashem will send before the war?
Make Israel upright and inspire Israel to serve Hashem.
Okay. What else? What else would this Navi do?
Does he declare?
Also there to bring peace between everyone, between parents and children, between all the people in the nation. Identify where each person belongs to in terms of which tribe they come from. Number 4, will Eliyahu Hanavi come before Mashiach or after? Some said before and some said after.
You have to declare.
What? Well, so the Rambam writes that it's not clear exactly when he's going to come. There are different opinions. So that's the answer to this question. It's not 100% clear if it'll be before. It could be before, it could be after. Number 5, what aspects of Mashiach are not a fundamental principle of faith?
Order.
We might well go to number 6. And what is a fundamental principle of faith? Who said the order? Yeah, the order of things is not a fundamental principle. And what is?
Belief that it's going to happen.
What?
Like just belief in Mashiach.
But what about which details are fundamental principles of faith?
That it's going to happen.
Number 1, that it's going to happen. And let me remind you, when we learned this part of the Rambam says these things are not a fundamental principle of faith, and therefore people shouldn't spend too much time going into it, right? So we asked the question, if that's the case, why did the Rambam write this whole chapter with all the details about Mashiach? How people are not supposed to be spending time going into it? And the answer was very simple. Obviously, all the details that the Rambam wrote, they are fundamental principles of faith. Who Mashiach is, what kind of person is going to be, a descendant from King David, or the fact that he's going to build the Beis HaMikdash, whatever details the Rambam writes, the reason why he writes them, because these details are fundamental principles of faith. What's not fundamental are the small details, like the order of things and other details that he doesn't mention, even though it's all part of Torah, but we don't know exactly how it's going to happen. And that's why we shouldn't really go so much into it. Now, we also wrote down why. This is not in the Rambam. It's something which I mentioned in class. Why isn't it clear about these details? Sorry. The word answer to the question why is in the Rambam. The reason why it's not a fundamental principle of faith is because we're not sure how it's going to happen. In the Torah itself, there are 2 opinions how it might happen. But I asked the question in class, how come the Torah doesn't make it clear to us? The Torah is supposed to be there to clarify things. Why doesn't the Torah give us a clear picture of the details, whether Eliyahu Navi will come before Mashiach or after Mashiach, and all the other details. Why aren't they clear?
Because part of Mashiach is we need to have that in a way blind faith. If it was saying, oh, this is everything that's gonna happen, then you don't need to have belief in Mashiach, you just follow the steps.
But we still need blind faith to believe that it's going to happen.
I don't know, I guess it requires more faith if you don't have a step-by-step guide.
Okay, that could be a
Then we wouldn't be
possibility.
so eager. Like if we knew the date that he was gonna come, it would have.
Not the date, but how the details of how things are going to happen, the order of things.
I don't think there would be as much of like an eagerness if we knew exactly.
Okay, it's a little bit like what Malka is saying. That if you don't know the details and the order, it's harder to believe. But the reason I gave was another reason. Yes.
He was like a stop rule. Like if we see certain things, it would be easier to like oh, this happens, so that means Mashiach's coming, and let us go.
It could also be like
Okay.
how it was like with like the story of how like they thought, oh, this is like this is gonna happen, it would happen with these signs, and it didn't. So now it's never gonna happen.
Right, but you're going into the question about the timing. We're going to come up to that soon. Do you remember we asked a question that in one place it says Mashiach will come on a cloud, another place it says he'll come on a donkey? What was the answer to that question?
Depends on if things are intense enough to need a cloud or a donkey.
Right, we said that a lot of the details of Mashiach depend on us. If we'll have the merit for it to happen one way, or we'll only have merits for it to happen on a lesser way. So therefore, it can't be written in the Torah clearly it's going to happen this way, because these details depend on us, and Hashem doesn't dictate to us what to do. We have to do it with free choice. So a lot of these things, the option is there, and it could be either one way or another way, depending on how we serve Hashem at that time. So that's the reason why the details are unknown. But there are general points about Mashiach which are clear, and that's the things that we must believe in. That he'll bring Beis Hamikdash, he'll bring all the Jews back to Eretz Yisrael. There won't be any more wars among the nations. That's not even a question. These things are fundamental principles of faith.
Rabbi Majeski,
Yeah.
are the Navi who are going to come, are they going to come before or after Mashiach comes?
So that itself is not so clear in the Rambam. That's why it says we're not sure if Eliyahu Navi will come before or after. In fact, if you look in the Rambam is not even clear how to interpret the Rambam. There's a part where he says there'll be a Navi coming before to inspire the people to tshuva, and it appears that it's very clear he'll come before. And then he says we don't know where Eliyahu Navi will come. So it could be there's two different prophets, one that'll come to inspire them, and one will be Eliyahu Navi. But the Rambam does mention that he'll come before to prepare us for Mashiach.
Mm-hmm.
So what I just told you is the answer to number 7, why it was not made clear in the Torah, the specific order and specific details. Now comes number 8, which you already gave the answers. What is wrong to give dates for Mashiach's coming? The answer is because if you give a date, we're talking about people who are knowledgeable and great Torah scholars, and they give a date for Mashiach's coming, and if it doesn't happen, people will lose their faith. But the dates mean that it's conducive for Mashiach to come, not that it's an absolute fact. It means there are certain times that there's a window of an opportunity right now that if we just do the right thing, we can bring Mashiach. And that's what they meant when they said that Mashiach might come this year or this generation. It means there was an opportunity then, and people, though, will take it as a fact, and if it doesn't happen, they're going to lose their faith. So why do we find that great rabbis gave dates? Like the Rambam himself is one of them. This is not written in the book, but it's in the notes of this book, but I spoke about it in class. Rashi, Ramban, Saadia Gaon, there's a whole list of great sages that during their time, they gave a date when they think Mashiach is coming. Why do they do it? So the answer is because they were living in a time where the Jews were very vulnerable. There was a lot of persecution, and they were going through a very difficult time, and they saw that the Yidden needed something to uplift them and to strengthen them and to solidify that belief that they had, to make it stronger. And therefore, they let them know that we're living in a very special time, a time that's conducive to Mashiach. And that's why we find that there are certain times in history where the rabbis did it. Now, I'm just adding this. I don't know if I told it during class. There's another opinion that says that when the sages said we shouldn't give a date, they meant people who make calculations based on the stars, the constellations, those kind of things. But if it's a date that they give that's based on something in the Torah, then it's perfectly permissible. Number 10, what does it mean, Kate, when you say there's a Kates? What does that word mean? Kates is exactly what I just spoke about. Kates are dates that it's dedicated, designated that in that time, Mashiach will come. That's called the Kates. The word Kates literally means an end to the Gullus.
Have there been, like, in the past, there have been the windows that it could have happened?
In the past, there were dates that were given. The Rambam himself spoke about his generation, that in this time, it's a time that Mashiach would come. Rashi gives a date. I don't mean a date by an actual day, but a time. And there were different years that we know. And in those dates, something major usually happened, but it wasn't actually Mashiach. So either something was meant to happen and didn't work out, or something happened in a more spiritual way. Yeah.
So in this week's parsha, when it said that Yaakov was going to tell his son when Mashiach was going to come, and it said he blessed them, like, how did he know? Like,
Prophecy.
did he knew? Everyone, like,
I guess that's prophecy. He was able to see the future. I mean, there's a lot of discussion. So why did he want to tell it to them if it's so far away? Wouldn't that be discouraging? So there's a lot of questions on this matter. Number 11, how is this different, what we just spoke about, from the Rebbe's announcement that the time of redemption has arrived? Isn't that giving a date? And that's the opposite of what you're supposed to do.
I mean, time of redemption gives a long period. Saying redemption doesn't say this is the time it has to come. It's just saying this is the period we can bring it.
Right.
It's up to us to get it together and do it.
It's not giving a day, an actual day, but it's still saying that we're in that time now.
Or like arguably we're always in that time because we're supposed to look at it as we're a scale and we could do that one thing that could flip it. So we're supposed to always see it as this
Okay,
is the time it can happen.
So that's not giving a date. That's always. If you remember, I told you that the difference is like this. This is the way the Rebbe explains it. In previous generations, they were giving dates. When will be the time for Mashiach to come? The Rebbe's announcement is saying something else. The Rebbe is saying we're already in that time. He's not telling us about the future. In fact, if you read the words, the time of your redemption has, just put in the word already arrived. That's what it means. In other words, the Rebbe said that the things that are happening in the world today, like the Tshuva movement, the war in Iraq, the transformation in communist countries, the freedom the Jews have now to serve Torah, learn Torah mitzvahs, all this is the process of redemption unfolding. In other words, redemption is not going to be something in 1 second, all of a sudden there's going to be a major turnaround, but it's a process that eventually takes time and eventually it unfolds. The Rebbe is telling us we're already in that process. So it's very different than before. So even though it says don't give dates, but once it's happening, of course, it's the time to say that it's happening now, and we should do whatever it takes to make the process faster, expedited.
so in the other windows throughout history, weren't things like this happening?
There were always interesting things happening, but no one said we're already in that era of redemption. They all said that this is a time which is conducive for redemption. They gave a year or a generation. But here, the Rebbe is telling us what's happening now are miracles which are part of the process of redemption. Yeah.
Rabbi, if Hashem knows everything and he already decided like what time Mashiach is gonna come, for what are we struggling? Like, why should we do something for it? Like Hashem already decided. Like,
Your question is a very good question and a very deep question, but it's not about Mashiach. It's really about everything in Torah mitzvahs. Why am I struggling to do this or that? Hashem knows anyway what I'm going to choose later.
How can you change it? He already knows like what's gonna be like in a few minutes, in a few years.
It's really a question about the question of free choice and Hashem knowing everything. I'm going to give you the short answer, but there's also a long answer. But the short answer is like this. How could I say this? That if someone does something, today's what, Wednesday? Someone does something on Wednesday, and tomorrow, you know, and you tell people, on Wednesday, yesterday, this person did such and such. Does that interfere with my free choice?
No.
I asked a simple question.
No.
People think if I'm asking a question, it must be very philosophical. This one's simple. If I already did something on Wednesday, and you tell someone on Thursday, I know that on Wednesday, this person did this and this. Is that an interference with my free choice? No. When we say that Hashem knows everything, is because Hashem is above time, even though we don't know what that means. He's infinite. And his knowledge is a result of my choice, except he knows before what we normally know after. So Hashem knows on Monday what everybody else knows on Thursday. But we say, if Hashem knows already, how could I choose differently? No, Hashem's knowledge is a result of my choice, but he knows it earlier because he's above time, and to him, past, present, and future is all the same, and he could know it. How is that possible? Because we don't understand above time, we don't understand infinite, so it doesn't make sense to us. But that's what it means. He could be here and he sees in advance what we chose, what we're going to choose tomorrow. So
Rabbi
therefore,
Majeski.
his knowledge is a result of my choice. It doesn't precede my choice. That's the short answer. Think about it, and hopefully it'll help.
Rabbi
Okay,
Majeski.
halacha 3, will Mashiach have prophecy? So the answer is, if you look in Rambam halacha 3, the Rambam says he will be a very big prophet, and in fact, he'll be close to the level of Moshe Rabbeinu. Will Mashiach identify who is the true Kohen? Will he identify who's the true Levi? Will he identify who has a blemish in his lineage that prevents him or her from marrying other people?
That's so, like, imagine that, you know? Like, then what? This person thinks they're Jewish their entire life.
So Baruch Hashem, the answer to this question is no. Not only no, because
Imagine that. I was distressed about that.
so the Rambam writes, that's one of the things in the Rambam. Look inside in halacha 3, you'll see what the Rambam says. The halacha is that if there's a family that at this point we don't know what happened in the past, halachically they no longer have that status.
How many generations was that?
Whatever it is, if it's forgotten, then no longer has the status.
I think they've forgotten about one generation.
I'm not getting past the shilas now, but imagine Mashiach is coming and he can tell you things that happened 1,000 years ago, and now all these people from that family would be disqualified. Could you imagine, like you say, the chaos? But the answer is, halacha is once family is at a place where it's forgotten and no one even knows about it, then halachically the status is gone. It's negative status, and therefore that's not what he's going to be doing. He's just going to tell us who's a Kohen, who's a Levi, and everybody else which tribe they belong to.
Wouldn't like the people who don't belong to a tribe?
People that don't belong to a tribe, that's the question. So which tribe will they belong to? They're going to have to be associated with a specific tribe, especially in those days. Israel will be divided again according to the tribes, where they're going to be living, where they'll be associated with. So I'm not sure what the answer to that is. I know that it's a discussion and there must be an answer to it, but I don't know the answer. Gotta do a little research. Maybe somebody had to do the research and come back with an answer. I'll give you until Friday. Yes.
What if there's a person who their father has been Jewish, like, and you go back, they're like a tribe, but their mother wasn't Jewish, so they had to convert? Like, would they be part of their father's tribe, or would they just be like their
So wait a second. The father is Jewish and belongs to a tribe,
Yeah.
and the mother is not Jewish, or the mother converted.
Yeah.
Which tribe do they belong to?
Yeah.
I don't know. Good question. We'll add that to the research project. I don't know.
I have another question.
I'm sure there are sparring that deal with it. Yes.
I thought though, like that by the end, I guess like towards like the beginning of Geula, there was only 2 tribes. Wasn't it just like Yehuda and?
Right, because there are 10 tribes that were lost.
So like,
When Mashiach comes, all those tribes are going to come back. In other words, right now,
so
first of
would
all,
we
there's a
be in those 2 tribes?
what?
Would we all kind of fit under those 2 tribes?
All of us, generally speaking, in the world today, all Jews that are identified as Jews, come either from the 2.5, either from Binyamin or Yehuda or Levi. So whoever's a Levi or Cohen, it's clear they come from the tribe of Levi. And whoever is not is either from Binyamin or Yehuda. What about everybody else? So the 10 tribes are lost, and they sort of mixed and mingled with other nations. That's why there's an opinion that says that the Ethiopian Jews are really from the 10 lost tribes. Some say that they ended up in Japan. They're different. So Mashiach comes, they're going to become aware that they're really Jewish, and they'll come to Mashiach, and he will identify these tribes where they belong to.
What will happen if the material line has been broken by them?
If what?
The material line has been broken by them.
So that's all going to be part of what he's going to identify, who's really Jewish and who belongs to which tribe.
How sad would that be, thinking you're Jewish and then Mashiach comes in like, "Ye?"
And the optimist will say, how exciting is going to be that so many people didn't know that they really are Jewish, and now they're finding out that they really belong to
I mean, yeah, that's
Israel.
great for them. I love that for them, living their best life, but also you have someone that, and it's also like, what about these Cohens that think they're Cohens now, but it was like, maybe their father was like, yeah, I'm not gonna do this.
They'll get financial compensation.
All right, so it's like preparation. I'm like,
Let's put it this way. When Mashiach comes, it's going to be a time of joy and happiness for everybody. So somehow at that time, everybody will be happy to know what the real thing is and serve Hashem the way they're supposed to. We'll stop off at Halacha 4. We have just a few more, which we'll do the next Wednesday. And then we're going to start learning Gemara on Mashiach. So we did Tanakh, we did Rambam, and then comes Gemara. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.